When the consumers start to engage with their favorite brands, particularly in the buy phase, obviously things like trust is important, and so it's no surprise that the reputation of the brand was one of the three most important things that was important at that phase of customer engagement. Obviously the checkout and onboarding experiences are even more important, actually, brand brand awareness and brand trust at that particular phase. But right at the top of importance when it came to what consumers want from their brands in this buy phase was the competitive pricing, of course. Perhaps not surprising, but the most important out of all those things. And when it came to actually using the products and services, the overall quality of the products and services was really important. And again, we found that onboarding, about over 70% of the consumers told us that the onboarding process was very important to them, particularly when they started to use those products and services. And when it came to actually then ongoing engagement with the brand, so we already have this trusted relationship between consumer and brand. We found that the time and the ease of which issues were resolved was the most important thing for the consumer during this phase of engagement. What we found when it came to the use of locational information and other sensitive information around the consumers, they were willing to give it over when there was a trusted relationship already in place, or when they'd already committed to that relationship. So, for instance, we found that consumers were interested in allowing brands to use locational information to improve the checkout process and the onboarding process, for instance, for ongoing customer services and for promotional discounts and vouchers. What we found actually was that for those particular things, over 50% of consumers were happy for the locational information to be used for all of those things I just mentioned. The interesting thing when it came to targeting ads, particularly around online, that the consumers' interest in using locational information dropped to about 25% of the respondents felt that they were willing for the brands to do that and to leverage their locational information for those kind of purposes. We found some interesting regional differences when it came to consumers allowing brands to use locational information in order to improve experiences, particularly around the particular types of experiences that are being delivered. So, for instance, when it came to promotional discounts and vouchers, we found that almost 70% of Benelux and Nordics consumers were happy for their location to be used in this kind of way to improve that particular experience. And above, again, they were the biggest, most prominent demographic when it came to ongoing customer services as well. And when it came to the checkout processes, the Benelux, Nordics, together with Germany, were the biggest three demographics willing to have their locational information used to enhance this part of the customer experience. So obviously, clearly, and perhaps not surprisingly, the younger generation were happy to have their locational information used to enhancing experiences across the entire life cycle of engagement with the brand, from the discovery of the brand, the exploration of products and services, buying, using, and gaining support from those products and services. So, the 18 to 24-year-olds, over 50% of them across were happy to have their locational information used in this way across that entire life cycle. The interesting thing is we saw in some of the older demographics, so for instance the 45 to 54-year-olds, when it came to, for instance, targeting online ads, 25% of them, or around a quarter of them, were only keen to have location used in this kind of way. However, when it came to trusted engagements with the brand and the experiences delivered within, so for instance, the checkout processes, the ongoing customer services, receiving promotional discounts and vouchers, over 50% of this demographic, i.e. the 45 to 54-year-olds, were interested in using location to enhance those types of experiences. One of the interesting things we found from the study was the juxtaposition between what brands were interested in focusing and investing in when it came to location intelligence and data, and what the consumers were interested in having their locational data and information used for. So for instance, brands tended to deprioritize the use of locational information for promotional kind of vouchers and discounts, or even for the checkout and the onboarding process. But actually that was those two things, i.e. the checkout and onboarding, and also the the promotional the use of location for promotional purposes was a top priority for the consumers. So brands need to, I think, listen to what consumers want and align their internal efforts and resources on what the consumers want their locational information to be used for, in order to be customer obsessed in this age of the customer that we find ourselves in.